Were you expecting a knockout?
I'm always expecting a knockout with Edgar.
So were you?
I always expect a knockout with Edgar.
So were you a little bit disappointed overall?
No, it's just, this guy's a skilled fighter.
All right.
As he keeps going up and up, he keeps fighting guys. That guy only lost to Triple H, man. That guy wasn't no bum in there, bro.
What's going on, you guys? So Edgar Berlanga, Edgar the Monster Berlanga, or the Chosen One, or whatever he calls himself these days, had a fight against Mr. Old Steve Rose last night. And yeah, Edgar Berlanga, what's the verdict on Edgar Berlanga? Hit that like button for your boy. Give me that HBO special. That's the Help a Brother Out special. Like, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon, all that good YouTube stuff, right? But Edgar Berlanga, I remember once upon a time, he was an up-and-coming, prospect. He was running through everybody that stepped in the ring with him until more recently, right? More recently for Edgar Berlanga, he has been looking more and more, less and less like a monster, so to speak, right? He's looking less and less like a monster, more and more human as these fights, as the opposition gets better. Had a fight with Steve Rose last night. And really, one may say Steve Rose possibly won that fight. One may say Steve Rose won that fight last night. Now, if you go on ESPN Top Ranks website, they're not showing too much of the fight. Normally they show clips and, certain moments of the fight, but in reality, this wasn't something they wanted to show. This ain't something they gonna really want to show. Edgar Berlanga really didn't put on the show last night for his crowd. Of course, the Puerto Ricans always hold each other down, but he really didn't look good. Steve Rose was landing shots on him and cut his eye. And it was an elbow, I think, cut him, but Steve Rose really just gave him a tough fight. And Steve Rose is an old fighter who really don't get that many fights. Steve Rose is a guy that's really a middleweight too, by the way. He's a middleweight, and really watching Steve Rose, I felt that he really could have beat Triple G if he had to just decide to fight. But a guy like Steve Rose is, I guess he's just an opponent for guys, right? But Steve Rose has some solid skills, and he the younger fighter only outlanded him by 3 punches. He only outlanded him by 3 punches, the younger guy. He said Rose used his jab over the course of the fight, but wasn't able to properly defend the power punches of Berlanga. I seen Berlanga land a few shots here and there in the fight because I went back and watched it. But, Steve, he was there. He was still there. Steve Rose is the smaller, older fighter. He was still there from Edgar Berlanga, a guy that was really just running through guys earlier on. He was really just kind of running through guys. And now, we see him struggling with old middleweights and Steve Rose. Steve Rose is a pretty solid guy, though, for what it's worth. But, Edgar Berlanga, at this point of Steve Rose's career, we expected Edgar Berlanga to really stop this guy, stop Steve Rose, Mr. Rose, but Mr. Rose is still here, and he looked like an old man in there too last night. He looked like a old dude from, like, I say Steve Rose looked like an OG. He looked like a 45-year-old from like should I say no? He looked like about a dude from the ages of like 39 or 45 back in like 1989 or something. That's or early 90s or something. He looks old. And he's still up in here giving guys like Edgar Berlanga hella problems. So what's the verdict on Edgar Berlanga? Is the verdict out on him? We seen him get dropped in his last fight against what was that guy's name? I think it was the El Terrible or something like that. I forgot his name though. But dude gave him some fucking good work. He dropped him and everything. You know what I'm saying? Let me see if I can find a clip real quick. Dropped him and everything in the fight. And Edgar Berlanga was pounding on his gloves and doing all this stuff, but he arguably lost that fight, and then who else did he fight before that? He got a lot of work to do. Top Rank is building this dude up. They're building him up, trying to have him fight the right guys, but now, of course, they got to put him there with some guys with a pulse, and he's barely passing these tests against these dudes. So my opinion on Edgar Berlanga, he's still young enough to make something happen. He's still young enough to improve and really figure things out, because let's just be honest, in boxing, you can't be doing this shit. You're going to have to really set yourself apart from the opposition. And this is what he used to do, just beating the hell out of dudes. He was 14-0. No, he was 18-0. Wait, no. He was 14-0 at one point. And now he's what? 18-0 with 16 knockouts or something like that. So yeah, Edgar Berlanga, I mean, he's still young enough to really just improve. He's still a young fighter, but against Steve Rose, people expected him to stop Steve Rose. We haven't seen Steve Rose in a long time. Steve Rose he's not a really active guy at all by any means. You know what I'm saying? And, people expected Berlanga to get the job done last night. And let me see what Top Rank posted anything. They didn't really post too much on this fight. Simply, as you can see, there's no clips of it or anything because really nothing happened. Like, he was getting outboxed. Steve Rose was landing multiple jabs at a time. And, you know what I'm saying? Really, Steve Rose could have won this fight if... We know how it goes in boxing, folks. We know how it goes in boxing. We know Steve Rose and the guy that was brought in to fight Xander Zarias. We know those dudes was just brought in there to lose. You know what I'm saying? Just brought in there to make these guys look good, to help build these young fighters' confidence, to help them just like a test. You know what I'm saying? Like working in front of a crowd, really. It ain't really, and he really didn't impress. It was a small test and he really didn't impress. And that's my verdict on Edgar Berlanga. He got a lot of work to do. I mean, he has the power, he has the tenacity, but I mean, he may have to rebuild his confidence because, a guy that was known as a puncher running through guys and now he's struggling with dudes. He may be having some confidence issues sooner before later. So yeah, Edgar Berlanga, he's still a young fighter. 24 years old. A lot of these dudes in the sport that's on the rise is 24 years old. And he's one of them. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he got some work to do. 19-0 with 16 knockouts. 6'1", 73-inch waist. He's pretty much a guy like my size. My reach probably longer though. But yeah, Berlanga got some work to do, man. He got some work to do. Yeah, the Marcelio Esteban dude gave him some fucking good work. Dropped him and everything. Still lost the fight somehow. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Edgar Berlanga, he may want to stay away from some of the guys that's more seasoned, some of the guys that's actually coming in there to win and coming in there to fight. He may want to pump the brakes on those dudes in Top Rank. Might want to move them slowly. I see what they're doing. This is his main event. They're trying to really push him. They're trying to, because there's a void in the Puerto Rican boxing community as far as male boxers. There's really nobody right now that's that guy. Miguel Cotto was really the last guy. Verdejo fell off the grid. We know what happened with him. So they trying to build up the next Puerto Rican star. And as you can see, there was a sold out crowd. Fat Joe showed up. Dude got some juice. You know what I'm saying? He got some juice. He got some support. You know what I'm saying? And in Top Rank trying to ride with that. But, this kid, you got to perform. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. You could be a guy that could attract all the hip hop stars and all the rappers and shit like that, right? You could be that guy all you want to. You could be the trash talker and the shit talker and the guy that could catch people's attention like Blair to Flair, but you gotta fucking perform. You gotta perform. When you go out, when you have that extra shit behind you, when these celebrities and all these stars behind you and you're labeled a monster or you a dude that's trash talking other fighters and trash talking and larger than life personality, you have to back that shit up in the ring. Because if you lose or if you look bad or if you even look vulnerable, I mean, the criticism, man, boxing is unforgiving across the board. Fortunately for him, he's Puerto Rican. And Puerto Rican fans, the Puerto Ricans, they really stick by they people, man. They ride with him. They say, yeah, he looked bad, but hey, we riding with him. Fat Joe said, it was a rough night. I'm trying to find a clip of Fat Joe talking about the fight. He was talking about it. But, he was riding with his boy. You know what I'm saying? He's riding with his dude. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really, that's what you're supposed to do. Edgar Berlanga, he's a young guy, man. He got work to do. And that's just what it is. Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.